Say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Those of you who are viewing and listening via GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20, good morning to you. Also, those of you via social media platforms, good morning and welcome to The Point today, Thursday. It's a little bit of a shift in our normal programming on a Thursday. With us this morning, I have with Mr. Jason Phillp this morning. He's the GIS Director this morning. Mr. Say good morning to, of course, Mr. Phillp. Mr. Phillp, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, GT, and good morning to Petit Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm here to share today with a little bit of information and update as to what the government is up and about doing.
All right. Also joining us this morning via, of course, our Zoom platform, we have Mr. Larry Lawrence this morning, and he's from the, of course, Grenada Bankers Association, also the Managing Director of Grenada Co-operative Bank. So, of course, Mr. Lawrence, good morning and welcome, sir.
Yes, good morning, good morning. Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. It's welcome this morning and welcome to both of you. So let's get the conversation rolling up this morning. And of course, let's start it off with Mr. Lawrence this morning. As you know, we have just had the passage of Hurricane Beryl. There's lots of concern that, of course, the folks around will have, consumers of the various banking institutions and so forth. What's the status, as folks would say, in terms of the banking sector in Grenada as they see with the passage of Hurricane Beryl?
I would say that it's pretty normal. It's business as usual, certainly for the banks operating on the mainland Grenada. Of course, there's disruption to our services in Carriacou for both Republic and GCBL. But certainly on the mainland Grenada, it is business as usual. We are continuing to observe normal operating hours in all of the various branches. So certainly business as usual.
All right. Now, was there any challenges that, of course, that the banking sector had to look up? You said it was business as usual, but in any challenges that was post the Hurricane Beryl?
Well, certain to say that assessments are still ongoing. Customers to the north of the island would have been impacted certainly more severely than customers to the south and northeast. So you are still contacting customers, hearing from customers what their impact would have been of the storm, how it has impacted their homes, how it has impacted their businesses. And of course, we would be working out with these customers on an individual basis in terms of certainly seeking to satisfy their requirements and ensuring, that across the association that we would demystify or not want customers to be overly concerned, that based on how they were impacted, that the banks will not work with them towards ensuring that any adjustments to their obligations will certainly be met on a case-by-case basis and properly considered.
Let's speak in reference to the Sister Isle of Carriacou.
Yes.
We certainly we know, of course, the destruction that has taken place there. Tell us how has it been thus far in terms of the customers, of course, especially from the cooperative bank and so forth in Carriacou. What were some of the issues that you had to deal with thus far?
Well, given the lack of communication, it has been difficult to contact customers to establish, how they have been impacted. But that said, in these sort of scenarios, you consider that persons do have basic needs, and we do understand that basic needs such as, of course, housing, food, and I did mention housing / shelter would have been impacted. So the primary need for banking services, of course, would not have been immediate or instant. But indeed, as persons after a week, 2 weeks, having no regard for being able to satisfy the need for shelter, certainly, in however temporary it is, then the need now for other services to sustain, those basic needs, such as the need for cash, the need for banking services, that will rise. And the Bankers Association certainly is prepared to work with customers in Carriacou to ensure that we are able to offer them some support, arising from restoration, of services. The buildings for Republic would have been severely impacted, more so than the branch office of GCDL. For Republic, they would have to, of course, undertake much more extensive restorations. That is likely to take some time. The intention for Republic is to have some support offered from the Grenada operations to the customers in Carriacou, and they will provide more details on what that will look like sometime next week. But for now, they continue to undertake assessments of their operations. With respect to Co-op Bank, we do intend to open to the public tomorrow, Friday, from the hours of 10 to 2. We would be offering limited services, typically cash services, withdrawals, deposit, processing of checks, processing night depository, wire transfers, electronic funds transfers. All of those services would be possible at the branch office of Co-op Bank at our Carriacou operations from tomorrow. Next week, we hope to offer 2 days service, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So certainly the Banking Association does intend to support, reopen, and offer certainly limited services initially for customers in Carriacou and Piedmont.
Yeah. Let me also ask you, how is the employees, we say, how is the impact of employees, especially within the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, how has that been assessed, and how is, of course, they've been taken care of?
Oh, well, certainly. Indeed, I would have mentioned at the top of my comments with respect to basic needs, employees across both the Republic Bank and Co-op Bank, they would have been severely impacted, some more than others, with respect to their places of abode, being severely impacted. So, of course, what the banks would have done during the course of the last week and a half, 2 weeks, is to reach out to employees, of course, offer them care packages, offer them tarpaulin, for example, for those who would need to ensure that there's some sort of temporary shelter, and afford them some dignity, no matter how limited, so that, they can be comfortable as much as is possible in the night and certainly in the day. So certainly the employees would have been supported in a manifest material way with care packages, and also with their needs assessment, and what then therefore we as the banking community, can offer employees to ensure that they have the headspace, so that they can return to work in order to serve the customers of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And you will appreciate that one of the things that we employees do know and well aware of is that as the gas stations open and you expect as you visit a gas station, the employee who's there is pumping gas, similarly like you would have been impacted. As you go to a supermarket or you go to a place that's offering food, they would have been similarly impacted. So certainly the view is that employees would now know that customers over the years would have placed their savings, with the bank, for a rainy day. So yes, we do have the support of employees in terms of coming out, their basic needs in some way, having been met, so that they can now move to assisting and serving customers in Carriacou and Petit Martinique.
One final question before we of course speak to Mr. Phillp here. Tell me, how does the bank in a preparatory mood, especially when it comes to, of course, disaster of this nature? How does the bank get themselves all prepared for disaster of that nature? The association as a whole?
Right. So it's typical to have business continuity planning. And of course, what you do, you would prepare well ahead so that when you have these type of disruptions, such as was meted upon us by Hurricane Beryl, you would have had things in place before, so, the bank would have had a generator, the bank would have, built ideally to a certain standard. You would have, communications established before, so, you know who to call if and so. You have service providers who are prepared to support you, to give you fuel for the generator. Of course, you have, if you have to charter a plane, to come to the island, you typically would have arrangements in place with key suppliers and so well before, so that indeed when the disaster happens, not if, but when it happens, you just kind of pull the playbook of your business continuity and then you follow the plan and then you make amendments so to suit.
All right. Tell me, how does you as the being, of course, the Grenada Bankers Association, forget that right? What kind of assurance could you offer to the Grenadian public? If I get my question across to you, where I would like to bring it across to you, I know there are folks who are sitting looking at this now, maybe have some worrying thing in their mind. The assurance is always comforting for individuals who want to know, well, my monies are safe, depending on whichever bank that I am associated with. Give Grenadians that level of assurance that all is well to that point.
Oh, well, certainly. As I would have certainly said, indicated earlier, it is business as usual for all intent and purposes. This type of disruption is not or does not in any way imperil the banking community, not at all. It is a simple matter of it allows or it has disrupted service because you physically cannot operate from someplace. But for all intent and purposes, your processes are very much in place. Your employees are very much in place and wants to work. Deposits, it remains certainly safe. Nothing has changed at all. What we have is a functioning economy. What we have is a willingness to rebuild, certainly in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and the bank is there to facilitate that. So for all intent and purposes, what I would encourage persons to do who have been impacted is to communicate. Right? You should reach out to your banker. You should reach out and communicate, ask questions, speak in terms of what you see in your environment, how you anticipate that you have been impacted, your job has been impacted, your business have been impacted, so that the bank can work with you towards making you comfortable. That's, I think that you mentioned that in the question comment you made. You need to be comfortable. So certainly if you do reach out and communicate, then that caring that the bank is compelled to offer to customers based on the banker customer contract certainly will aid any sort of anxiety that customers may have.
All right. Thank you so much. Folks, we drew for a short break. We're going to take that break. We come back. We're going to continue our chit-chat. Of course, we have Mr. Phillp and Mr. Lawrence. When we do come back, we're going to continue our chit-chat here on To The Point. We'll be right back. Stay with us, folks.
Good day, Mom. What would make it easier for you to reduce your plastic waste?
Definitely incentives for bringing back plastic bottles, like discounts and loyalty points. It would motivate me to recycle more.
I think if restaurants let us use our own takeout containers, it's all about convenience,
It would help if manufacturers start using less packaging altogether.
Better infrastructure, more investment in recycling facilities, and innovative solutions to tackle this growing problem of plastic pollution. It's not just about individual action, it's about systemic change.
With our population growing and plastic becoming more prevalent in packaging, we have to equip our waste management agencies to keep pace with change and handle the load.
There you have it, folks, straight from the streets. People are willing to do the responsible thing if we create the conditions for them to do so.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Sound the alarm! Get your posse ready as the Spicemas Corporation presents the highly anticipated Groovy and Power Soca Prelims. Groovy and Power Soca Prelims. Dates for the Groovy Soca Prelims: Wednesday, July 10th to Friday, July 12th on the Tantin Netball Court. And the Power Soca Prelims kicks off this Saturday, July 13th to Monday, July 15th on the Lassages Hard Court in St. David's. Admission only $10. Showtime 8 p.m. sharp. It's Soca and Mo Soca. It's the Groovy and Power Soca Prelims. Don't miss the experience.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to my guest this morning. And welcome back once again, Mr. Lawrence. And I know you have to run off, so I will give you the opportunity if you want to present any closing comments before we take a wrap this morning.
Well, thanks, of course, for the opportunity to be here and to communicate to the public at large, our customers in particular. So it's just to say that, all is well and all is quite stable, certainly in the banking community. There would have been, of course, I did mention the public and GCBL in particular, but of course, there's ACB, who is also part of the association. They would post normal operations also certainly for them, just in focusing more on the impact, to the North and to Carriacou, and ACB not represented there in terms of a branch, I might have certainly not mentioned them, but rest assured, as part of the banking association, they are also very much moving for operations and all is well and normal, I can also encourage customers, as part of the preparation, we always encourage customers to ensure certainly you do have your home should be insured, so that the risk is certainly passed to an insurer, who then helps you to get back on your feet. That's not always possible, but certainly it is a good practice to have, so that part of your being able to recover quickly is based on there being proper insurance in place, for these type of periods, which not if they come, but when they do.
All right, Mr. Lawrence, I want to thank you once again a whole lot for sharing information this morning. And I certainly hope the listening and viewing audience this morning are certainly happy to hear from you. And just to know that all is well, of course, in terms of the financial situation here in Grenada. Have a pleasant day, sir, and best wishes goes out to you. All right.
Thank you. It's good to be of service.
All right, you're welcome. Folks, it's, of course, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Of course, in studio with me this morning, I have Mr. Jason Phillp. Of course, he's the JS director. Recently taken up the post, sir. How are things going with you this fella? I mean, I probably didn't ask you that. Maybe everybody else already asked. How's things going thus far? Pick up the post at a particular time when the information is needed rapidly. To that point.
Yes.
How has it been going for you thus far?
Well, I must say that it has been moving along.
Yeah.
We do have a number of challenges, as with everything, understanding the current circumstance.
Yeah.
But I am glad to say that we are open, we are doing well, and my team is rallying very hard. A very solid group of professionals, and we are making the work as fluid as possible so that the general public can have information in a timely manner, and that we're able to bring across government's work and all the things that the people would need so that they can benefit in a very short space of time.
All right. So great. Tell me, our conversation continues. We have just spoken to Mr. Larry Lawrence, of course. He of course, from the Grenada Bankers Association, of course, given the assurance that the financial situation in Grenada is at a stable state. All right. Now, from a government perspective, as it relates to the finance and so forth, tell us, share some information with us in that regard.
Yes. So to really reinforce what Mr. Lawrence has brought across this morning, the government of Grenada is making all necessary steps. They're taking every necessary step to maintain the good conditions so that the banks and other financial agencies within the territory are able to function smoothly, are able to operate, and able to keep the economy moving. We know that what has impacted us mainly to the north of Grenada mainland and all of Carriacou and Petit Martinique is a substantial blow to our economy. However, the government has recognized that we cannot afford to have our economy tank. So they are, through the Ministry of Finance, the Prime Minister has stated in his last press briefing that the Ministry of Finance is currently engaging with organizations such as the World Bank, the IMF, and even the Caribbean Development Bank as a means of finding resources and being able to manage its spending so that it can best manage the fiscal space in Grenada. Mm-hmm. So to date, we're saying that government has been doing all that it can, and it has prioritized to ensure that stability which Mr. Lawrence has been speaking of is maintained, and that we can move to a point where we're able to afford continue affording the relief as well as the rebuilding phase of the restoration efforts.
So how is this, of course, consultation going thus far, especially with the financial institutions around the world, I would ask?
Well, yes. Government, through the Ministry of Finance, will be given a report either on Friday or by Monday next week that will clear and give more insight as to what the negotiations are. What I can say to this end is that there is quite a lot of negotiations. The Prime Minister and his cabinet, they are meeting with quite a lot of players across the globe, and they are making sure that they're putting Grenada first. They're putting the interests of the citizens first. And so with that thrust, when we get that update from the Ministry of Finance, I'm certain it will bring a lot more clarity and it will bring a lot more detail as to these efforts that are currently on the way.
In the PM's last briefing that he had a couple of days ago, he did speak a lot, of course, in terms of the relief efforts and so forth for the sister island of Carriacou. What information you could share first as it goes?
Yes. So currently, the relief efforts continue from day one. However, these matters are now being escalated. They're being pushed and it's being reinforced. We're going to be having quite a lot of more and new players coming on board to give us assistance, as well as the relief efforts is continuing to surge. In particular, over the course of this weekend coming, there is a national cleanup campaign similar to what would have happened in the north of the mainland Grenada, which is going to be happening at Carriacou and Petit Martinique this Saturday and Sunday. This effort is being led by the Minister of the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, Honorable Andy Williams, and he leading his ministry will be heading this entire operation over the course of the weekend. Now, we are quite clear that in no doubt that this is an initial effort as a means of getting clearance into Carriacou. However, these efforts are going to go well into the next 2 to 3 months. It's quite a lot to happen, and we are seeking volunteers. Now, there is a publication which is out there now, which we are encouraging for volunteers. You are to contact the MIT, Ministry of Implementation, Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, and you are to register. Now, I want to be clear that persons, we know everyone wants to help, but but we have a criteria initially so that we can maximize on this circumstance. Remember, we have to transport persons from the mainland Grenada to Carriacou so that we'll be able to carry out this exercise and then transport persons back to the mainland. So there is limited space in terms of to put people on the various vessels that will be doing that journey.
Okay.
And so we need to pick persons who can really make the biggest impact in such a short space of time.
So you just want anyone and anyone coming?
No.
Not for that reason?
No. We're seeking at this point in time able-bodied persons, 18 years and older, have the ability to work items such as chainsaws and work in very extreme conditions. Yeah. You have to also be somewhat, have a little bit of strength with you, because there will be quite a bit of heavy lifting and shifting of stuff as we go. Remember, we're talking about fallen trees, down stuff from houses, roof debris everywhere, and so we're trying to have that collection process now and that separation process of trash and so happen while we clear and move things away. Remember, most of the items that are on the islands have to be moved off the island, so it has to be transported out so that we can remove the debris from the country. This is going to be a mammoth task, and in no means are we saying we don't need the help in volume, but we have to limit what we can now to ensure we have the biggest impact and not risk injury or significant injury to our volunteers. So we're asking for persons to please call into the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation and register with them to be able to be joined on that cleanup campaign over this weekend. But also, even if you're not selected for this weekend, once your information is in, when we have further cleanup drives and when we have further mobilizations, your information is there and we will reach out to you.
Now, from relief, we're going to go to rebuild. How's the pattern going for that part? I mean, am I jumping the gun too quick, or is it an open thought already?
Oh, not at all, not at all. As the Prime Minister clearly indicated, we have to relook the entire this entire thing of what our countries, what our buildings, what everything is going to look like moving forward. We are expecting now to continue to see these types of ferocious natural hazards coming our way, and as countries who are on the front line, we have to mitigate as best as we possibly can. Yeah. And so, as he would have stated quite clearly, we have to now reconstruct, rebuild with resilience. We organize, we understand at this point that due to climate change, we cannot control the weather, we cannot control the conditions. We can just look just to the north. Not only are we fighting with hurricanes, but we had recently a volcano eruption in St. Vincent. And not because it was in St. Vincent, but it affected us here in Grenada. It affected our brothers and sisters in Barbados. Yes. And so we have to be quite clear that there are earthquakes, there are so many natural hazards. And things are now ramping up, we can say. And so the best we can do is seek out those new technologies, seek out those new systems, and seek out those new methodologies that currently exist that can help us best mitigate. And so the Prime Minister is quite clear. I think it was mentioned relative to our electrical infrastructure that Glen is now redesigning on the basis that we should be focused now on resilience for them, because these things, they are very expensive to insure and they're very difficult to insure if you can get insurance at all. Exactly. So we need to consider potentially putting the cables on the ground, and so therefore it can help within the long-term resilience. And so the Prime Minister is looking in those ways as a means of ensuring that as we rebuild and we reconstruct, that we have the best chance of surviving any future hazards that may come our way.
Where do we go from here now in terms of the entire process as we go through? Where does we go from here now?
Well, first of all, we have to say anywhere we go, we have to go together. Yeah. The Prime Minister and his team has been quite clear that this is no time for division. This is no time for us to be apart and bickering and making noise over trivial matters. In no way do we have a system that is perfect. However, one thing we can maintain is that we are all Grenadians. We all love each other. We all feel the same pain. We all breathe the same air. And at this time is now a time when we all need to come together and we need to face the reality that our future, our lack thereof, is solely in us facing it together. And as such, with the efforts of the government, with the efforts of our regional and international partners, with the efforts of all of our diaspora, we're asking that everyone join in and come together so that this beautiful nation of ours continue to strive into the future as one nation. We do understand that challenges will come, and we are only at the beginning of the hurricane season. So we do not know what is yet to come. So at this point in time, we need all hands on deck. The Prime Minister has clearly stated that we need to have a united front, we need to be together, and we need to support each other. So for all of us in the rest of the territory, in the diaspora, who have not been directly affected by this system, we're saying that we need to be the backbone of those of us who have been significantly negatively affected. And so together we will be able to achieve anything moving forward.
I am assuming we have had various dignitaries and so forth visit the island recently. What sort of feeling have they been, or feedback I should say, have we been getting from those who've been visiting and looking at the level of the destruction, especially to the sister island, the north of the island?
Yes, well, in particular, yesterday we had visitation from 3 heads of state who came in, led by the Honorable Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell. We had the Prime Ministers of St. Lucia, Dominica, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Okay. All 3 visited the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique yesterday with the Prime Minister, and they were able to engage with MP Tevin Andrews, as well as they met with residents. They were able to interact with aid and relief workers. They interacted with the folks down at the NADMA EOC, and they were there to get a first-hand perspective of the ravages of this hurricane. And I must say it was mind-blowing to them. But in all of that, they reassured their commitment to support and to help in whatever way they can. And this, to me, speaks towards the love, the continued bond that we have as neighbors, in this very difficult time for us here in Grenada. And so with that reassurance that we have them as support, and they continue to send resources into us, they continue to help us manage resources, it is very heartwarming, and we continue to have that very strong support.
All right, great. We drew for a break. Let's take it, of course. We'll be certainly back in a short with you, Ms. Phillp. To our listeners and viewers, as the process goes along this morning, if you do have a question or two you may like to ask, of course, Mr. Phillp, feel free. If he can answer, he certainly will when we come back after the break. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch it down. Stay with you here.
Discover the ultimate soca experience at GBN's Spice Up the Carnage Soca Monarch Edition.
You see the thing you give me, girl, the other day. I love it.
Register now by submitting your music to admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458. Don't miss your shot at winning over $10,000 in cash and prizes. $10,000 in cash and prizes, along with the prestigious title of GBN Soca Monarch Champion. It's GBN's Spice Up the Carnage Soca Monarch Edition. Register now.
Hold on your tongue and twist it. Where are you come out? Where are you from? How was leave free promotion? It is all budget. Somebody send out the warning.
Spend $50 or more at any Hubbard's department or participating outlets for a chance to win free fuel, free drinks, free prizes, free property and vehicular insurance, free Hub TV and internet, free electricity, free coke, free water, free cooking gas, free paint supplies, free Dutch Lady milk, free passes to Sunshine promotion events for 2024, free groceries, all for one whole year. And every winner receives a free lunch package. But that's not all. Drive away in style in a brand new Isuzu D-Max. It sips, it doesn't guzzle. So fill out your entries and place them into the marked entry boxes. This promotion is brought to you in part by Dutch Lady, Danny, Promo, Supreme Bleach, Creative Chef, Glen, Floor, Salt Petroleum, Grenadian General Insurance Company Limited, Coca-Cola, Sunshine Promotion, Caribberies, Co-op Bag, Sesame Spain, and Food Fear. Promotion runs from April 2nd to December 24. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV for today, Thursday, the 11th day of July. Welcome back, Mr. Phillp. You know, recently we of course heard, of course, by the wayside, you know, something you could say to that particular way, the SIF, of course, insurance, as folks would say. Tell us if anything you could share with the listeners this morning as relates to that, or if it's just not anything official that you could mention as relates to it as yet.
Well, let me just clarify that, as I said before, the Ministry of Finance is and has been interacting with many aid agencies, many organizations globally in an effort of one, sourcing funds, one, being able to manage our current resources so that we can have spend available for managing our relief and our response efforts ongoing. The ministry has not yet officially responded to that particular matter, and I would not want to prejudice the situation at this point. What I can say is that any release that once would have been seen circulating has not yet come from the government of Grenada. But as the Prime Minister so indicated, that we will be getting a comprehensive report from the Ministry of Finance by Monday of next week. So it's just to bear our indulgence just a little bit more, and we do not want to make pronouncements that may come with specialty explanations that the ministry would have. So I'm saying to everyone that things are happening, things are positively happening, and a lot of hard work is happening. However, I would want to have the Ministry of Finance first make their presentation, and then we can deliberate further beyond there.
That's understandably so. As it goes to the state of emergency in the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit-Martin, any information you wish to share on that?
Yes.
You know, is it still implemented, or has it been lifted? I know in the initial stage of the Prime Minister did say it was for 7 days. Just share some information that relates to that, or clarification anyway.
Certainly. So we, as the Prime Minister would have indicated in his last press briefing, that as at Tuesday, I think it is, that the state of emergency is now over.
Yes.
It is lifted. However, the northern end of Grenada and the island of Carriacou and Petit-Martin have been declared a disaster zone. What this clearly means is that though it is open for persons to traverse and so, we must understand the conditions that are there right now. And it is very unsafe for persons to go for sightseeing, persons go for recreational visits, and just for curiosity's sake we want to turn up. There is not much things there that we consider to be normal. The Nawasa has only now started getting water being delivered and being circulated throughout the island through water truck delivery, and that in itself is limited in its scope. The plants have been put back online, but water is not running through the network, the pipe network that is there. So we do not want to add unnecessary strain to the systems in Carriacou, and what the Prime Minister has said, and I would like to quote: if you do not have to go to Carriacou and Petit-Martin, please don't go. If you are not part of a relief of volunteer corps effort or delivery of relief supplies, please don't go. If you can get your family members in Carriacou and Petit-Martin to visit, giving them a bit of much needed comfort and relief, some support, government supports that. Government continues to evacuate vulnerable persons, whether they be senior citizens, pregnant persons, persons with other vulnerabilities or issues on a needs basis. we certainly encourage anyone who believes they are in a health risk to move to the mainland Grenada, even if it's at the cost of government.
All right.
So this is very pronounced. It is very profound. And we're asking persons, please, do not go to Carriacou and Petit Martinique unnecessarily so. We want to ensure that everyone is safe. We want to ensure that the restoration and recovery and relief efforts that are currently on the way have the opportunity to reach its mark and not be congested by a lot of folks who are not needed to be there at this time.
Okay, it's not that we don't want anyone to go to Carriacou. We're not saying that, but if it's not necessary for you to be there, refrain.
Yes, please, please. There's one other area that we need to pay very close attention to. It is what they call it's a health risk.
Yes.
Remember that there's no dead animals. There's a lot of different debris, food persons would have had in their homes, refrigerators that might have been stocked. That now there's no power. So there is a lot of things going on in the environment there that could become a health risk, and we want to minimize the spread of any particular diseases. And so it is quite necessary at this point that we must say, people, please, if you don't need to be there, please don't go. Also, human beings, we are a biological being, and the more people that go into the island is the more human waste that is going to be placed there. Now, with the absence of having flushing toilets and all of these things, we have to keep in mind, where would these wastes go? And it is going to be in the environment where we'll have vectors such as flies and so that could really start spreading a lot of diseases. And we're asking, please, this is a common sense thing now. We're not forcing anyone, but it is a common sense thing. If we love our residents at Carriacou and Petit Martinique, when we go sightseeing, what we leave them is a long-term and a reaching problem that could potentially cause death and injury substantially for those who remain. So please, Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique, let us help our brothers and sisters. Let us love them, but sometimes we have to do it from a distance.
All right. In terms of the agriculture sector, we know the northern part of the island especially has taken a hit from Hurricane Beryl. What information you can share with us as relates to that?
Yes. So the Ministry of Agriculture has dispatched teams that are currently doing ongoing assessments. As you can appreciate, the state of destruction has been immense and it has covered a wide area. So the team is going to need time as a means of completing the assessment. But initial preliminary results are showing that the significance of the damage that has been done to a lot of our long-term crops, such as the nutmeg and the cocoa, and those types of significant tree crops which Grenada is so well known for. And so the restoration and the relief of these for farmers, and so the ministry will be pronouncing as soon as it can how they will be proceeding with this. What I can say is that from the Minister of Agriculture, he has mentioned that resources are being mobilized and that help is on its way, and they will be making announcements very into the near future.
All right, great. Of course, and I certainly hope the farmers will be happy to hear that. We due for a break or final one. In the next segment, when we come back, we will, of course, ask you, listeners and viewers, you have the option of calling in, share, of course, your thoughts, or if you do have a question or two, you have the opportunity to do so in the next segment. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. It's 15 minutes moving up before the top of the hour.
It's never the wrong time to prepare for a hurricane, and we want to make sure you and your family stay safe. You must take an active role. It only takes one hurricane to change your life and your community. Hurricanes are one of nature's most powerful and destructive events. That's why a hurricane preparedness checklist is vital. You should have a family evacuation and communication plan. Everyone in your home should know what to do if severe weather strikes. Have a hand crank or battery-powered radio available to stay informed about weather updates. Flashlights and extra batteries are essential. Update your emergency supply kit. Include a sufficient supply of food and water. 1 gallon of water per person per day is a recommended amount. Have canned or boxed food available that won't spoil. At least a week's supply of medication is also suggested. Have special items set aside that you might need for infants or elderly residents in your home. If you're a pet owner, have food and extra water set aside for your pets. Hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th. Do your part to protect your family and your property. Be smart, be prepared.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Don't forget you have the option of calling, ask a question or two to Phillp as we here on the program this morning. 435-2041. You have double options of calling in. If you want to call via the WhatsApp 435-2041, or you can call us directly also 435-2041. Mr. Phillp, as we wait a caller or two to call in to maybe ask a question or two. In terms of the relief effort, how satisfied are you in terms of the relief effort thus far, especially in the sister isle of Carriacou, the northern part of the island? Has everybody been receiving the relief that they need, that they certainly do need thus far? Or there's still pockets that has still not been covered or so forth?
Well, I want to iterate that based on the reports that have been received both from NADMA and the various aid agencies that are on the ground in both Carriacou and Petit Martinique, that it is comprehensive that as at today, that every corner of Carriacou and Petit Martinique has been penetrated with relief. Any individual who has so to claim that they have not seen relief in a location or seen, they really need to bring evidence forward, because we do have information to the contrary. We also want to indicate that the persons who are distributing the aids have no skin in the game. They are individuals who are aid and relief workers, some of which are not from here in Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique.
Okay, great.
They do not know who is from where, or what is your connection. Their goal is to ensure that everyone is taken care of and everyone is to be taken into consideration when it comes to the relief. So we are happy to say that on the reports coming from NADMA and our various agencies who are currently on the ground, that the aid in relief, food and supplies, tarpaulins, cots, bedding material, clothing, all these things that have been sent in to date has penetrated all of Carriacou and Petit Martinique.
Great. We do have a caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I just want to find out if in the building back process and if we are looking at the material, the poor material that is being sent to us or being made here, especially the galvanized. Because you could hold up galvanized, the sheet of galvanized and twist it on your hand. You could even take out a nail and push it on that sheet of galvanized. The old time galvanized is going to do that. It bunks all over the place. So I want to know if you're talking about building back better with the same old material.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Any response to that, if you can?
Yes, certainly. I would refer back to the statement that the Prime Minister made as it relates to resilience. Also, standards. He did mention that we have to update our building codes and standards, and so matters to do with all of these materials and so will be captured under the standards end of things. So I'm certain that as our professionals through the Bureau of Standards and other agencies, they would be looking into these areas. I know that the Housing Authority have a measure of expertise where these things are concerned, and I'm certain that as these standards are revised and are drafted, they will be looking into all materials, they'll be looking into all the things that are affect for the resilience end of things to be successful.
All right, that's great. Certainly hope so, folks. Certainly hope so too. Once again, for callers, listeners and viewers, don't forget you have the option of calling 435-2041, 435-2041. Mr. Phillp, anything that we may have missed that we haven't touched this morning? And we did say a whole lot. You had Mr. Lawrence popping, and of course he should outline in terms of the banking sector. You reiterated on it also. We spoke a whole lot this morning. Anything that you may have missed that we should have touched this morning?
I think at this point what we really need to focus on is to ensure that as individuals we recognize that we have dodged a bullet to a point here in the south of the island.
Yes.
But we must be clear that the north and Carriacou and Petit Martinique didn't. And so we call upon all of the persons who have not been majorly affected. We call upon our diaspora that we need to continue rendering support to all of Carriacou and Petit Martinique as they go through this very traumatic and very long restoration process. We must remember that persons there, they are going through what we would consider the Ivan effect. It's 20 years on since Hurricane Ivan wrecked Grenada, and Carriacou did not really get much of that effect then. But if for those of us who went through that and we understand what it was like, we need to empathize, we need to support, and we need to genuinely have a big outpour to ensure that the restoration effort there comes through as a united front. At this point in time, our prayers go out to persons who have lost loved ones throughout this entire, effect, and I would like to say that not only was there loss of life in Carriacou, but we have to remember that there was also loss of life here in the mainland, and it happened right there in River Road. And so we must be mindful that this is real life, this is the real world, and we need to come together at this time. We need to support each other, and we need to be mindful that we do not want to position ourselves in areas which could cause more harm than good for the persons who are already affected and so traumatized at this point.
You spoke earlier on the process that's coming up this weekend that individuals has to go through in terms of folks want to volunteer and so forth to go in the cleanup campaign in Carriacou. Maybe you want to reiterate that again.
Yes. So just as I mentioned that the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation is spearheading a cleanup campaign, a national cleanup campaign, which would be on the island of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. This effort is going to be happening this Saturday and Sunday, and volunteers are being asked to come forward. You're asked to contact the ministry, and so that you're able to place your information to be volunteers. Now, not because you call, it means that you might be accepted. However, we're still asking persons to call. We are vetting persons at this point because the initial stage, we are looking to remove a lot of heavy debris. We are looking to chop up a lot of things so that we can start making the environment a lot more conducive for the rebuilding phase to come. This particular process will go into the months when it comes to the area, the getting the restoration and removal of all this debris out of the islands. However, at this point, we're seeking persons who are 18 years and older. You must be able-bodied, and we're seeking persons who have skills in using chainsaws, and you have to have strength because there's quite a lot of heavy lifting and shifting and stuff. So we're not calling names or pointing fingers, but we just want you to understand that this initial action is as a means of to get that ball rolling and to really deal with some of the more complex issues that we are going to meet initially. When it comes to the removal of things like metals and the plastic trashes and stuff like that, these are things that need to be separated, and so the Solid Waste Management Authority will be taking lead when it comes to how the trash is handled and how it is taken off the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. But this is now a fully coordinated effort to ensure that we get the most impact as we bring persons in. Now remember, it is still the islands are still in a state of disaster, and so just as we were saying before, we do not want to have persons going up there unnecessarily so as a lime, right? So the persons who will be going up for this cleanup drive will be going to be working quite intensely and to do quite a lot of significant work. And so we ask persons to brace themselves and be prepared that we are going to be moving and shifting quite a lot.
A matter of concern, you did speak about, of course, most of the debris that will be collected in the system of Carriacou will be brought back to the mainland. Any particular site, or of course, that has already been foreseen in terms of the storage matter for those debris and so forth as yet?
Well,
I've been looked into.
I will not speak at length or into any depth specific to how these things are going to be handled. What I can say is that the Solid Waste Management Authority has indicated that metal waste in particular would need to be shipped out. Okay. Now, I think it was indicated in an earlier meet that the metal baler will be shipped from mainland Grenada to Carriacou. Okay. Over the last weekend, the metal baler remained on island as we were doing the national cleanup campaign in the north of the island. Right. However, this machine will be shifted to Carriacou, and as fast as metals like the galvanized and other metals that would be found in the environment, they will be brought to a particular point on island in Carriacou. They will be crushed crushed, they will be baled, and more than likely there may be containers there that they may pack into the containers immediately. The shipping aspect of it is that the logistics, more than likely these items would either A, have to come to Port St. George, where they'll be transshipped on the larger ships, or there may be vessels which will be loaded and will go straight to whatever destination. That logistics, the Solid Waste Management Authority will speak to that when they are interviewed in short order. However, what we can say is that there is a very pragmatic and a very concerted effort to ensure that the waste is dealt with in the correct way so that we do not complicate matters on the ground there. But it will be spearheaded by the Solid Waste Management Authority.
All right. Mr. Phillp, I know you said this and you have to make a bit of an early run out this morning, so of course they do appreciate you being here. Not much questions come this morning, which means folks are understanding a whole lot of what we're saying here this morning, and there's nothing to be questioned in terms of what the information that we threw out this morning. Any closing contribution from you this morning?
Yes, I would like for us all to remember, as the Prime Minister indicated, that we need to stay together on this. We need to continue to work together. We're still calling on all persons to continue to volunteer. Your voluntary efforts will go well into the restoration and rebuilding phase. But we want to remind folks that we're just 1 week after the hurricane, and so you are seeing your government at work. You're seeing your government coordinating and managing this entire response exceptionally well. We're saying that not everything is perfect. We understand that there are difficulties and there are challenges, but the management of this is being well coordinated and handled by the Prime Minister and his cabinet, and so information is flowing. We are here now at the GIS, happy to transmit as much information from all sectors of government to ensure we keep you informed, keep you up to date, and ensure that you know what decisions government are making when it comes to everything that is happening in our nation at this point. So I would like to encourage and continue to remind folks that together we shall achieve, together we shall make it. We are one nation here and we will be better for it. We are continuing to move forward, as the Prime Minister said, with resilience. And so standards have to be improved, codes have to be changed, but generally speaking, Grenada will be better for it.
All right. Mr. Jason Phillp, I want to thank you a whole lot for being on the program this morning. Do appreciate the contribution, and I certainly hope to have you back on a regular.
Thank you, certainly so.
All right. Best wishes for you for the rest of the day. All right. Hey, folks, that's what we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point. A bit of an early closure this morning, and join us again for another edition. That's what we say goodbye. Goodbye, folks.